Welcome back to Latitude. As we travel along the N12 this week, we came across a new tourist route that is being developed.
The N12 road network stretches from Mpumalanga in the north of the country to the Western Cape in the south. Along the way, you will pass through the Northwest Province before entering the Northern Cape. Needless to say that a number of small towns are linked by this route. Of particular interest is the 250 kilometers or so between Christiana and Potchefstroom, which has been coined the N12 Treasure Route. It's called the Treasure Route because all the towns have one thing in common. They were all part of the diamond rush in the late 1800s. The thinking behind this route is linked strongly to job creation.
If you have a look at the N12, it goes through a lot of rural towns, and many people go to the large cities and metropolitans to get jobs. And tourism is one of the fastest growing sectors towards the GDP. So therefore, tourism can create jobs. So as a private sector person, according to the white paper, tourism, government-led, community-based, private sector driven. Where we can, as private sector, with the help of the community, develop the necessary tourism attractions, create the jobs, and ultimately add to the GDP. And also to add skills to our people who are in dire need of skills for them to be able to get these jobs.
Tourism has added significantly to the GDP of these areas.
A couple of years ago, tourism added 7-8% to GDP. At this stage, it's past 10%. We can get the people down the N12. We can create those jobs. We can make it a tourist attraction from every little town, every city, every little minute bed and breakfast can have people visiting them. And I do believe that this can be one of the top 5 tourist attractions within the next 10 years.
This treasure route has all the components to become a great road trip experience. Starting in Christiana, which is situated on the banks of the Vaal River, this town owes its existence to the diamond rush of the late 1800s. Established as a mining settlement, the town was named after then Transvaal President Pretorius's only daughter, Christiana. The town still has well-maintained Cape Dutch buildings, and like most little towns in rural South Africa, the most impressive building is possibly this sandstone church. More history in the town. This wagon wheel monument is part of the Voortrekker history, dedicated to Margrieta Prinsloo, who was a descendant of the Voortrekker leaders. If you plan on spending the night in the town, there are some quaint accommodation options available, like the Die Wingerd Gastehuis, which also has event facilities. And no trip to a small town would be complete without a visit to the local pub. Moving along the treasure route, you will find yourself in Warrenton, another town that came to be because of the diamond mining rush. Warrenton was set up as an agricultural town to supply the booming nearby mining settlement. Diamonds were also discovered here in 1888. One of the standout features in the town is the scenic railway bridge over the Vaal River. 86 million rand was spent by Sunroll on upgrading this road, which was reopened earlier this month. The local church is another architectural highlight on the route. This building was erected in 1935, but the initial building was not as grand. Following the diamond rush, there was enough money available to upgrade the church to what it is today. Warrenton is very much a drive-through town on the route. At the Lady on the Roof restaurant, you can have a quick cup of tea and a look at the Lady on the Roof, a bit strange but quirky. The next stop on the N12 Treasure Route is Bloemhof. As the common link on the route goes, this town was founded in 1864 when diamonds were discovered here. A very scenic part of the route, the area houses the Bloemhof Nature Reserve and Dam. This is one of the largest man-made dams in the country, and when full, it has a capacity of 1.2 billion cubic meters. The Bloemhof Dam is an important tourist drawcard for both the Northwest and Free State provinces. In the summertime, it attracts fishermen and water sport enthusiasts. There are also 250 species of bird and ample wildlife which brings visitors to this nature reserve. The N12 Treasure Route ends in Potchefstroom, but before you get there, stop off at the Vredefort Dome, which is the World Heritage Site along the route. The site of a billion-year-old meteorite impact, the Vredefort Dome is a massive crater that stretches almost 300 kilometers in diameter. The exact crater is not visible today, but the impact of the meteor hit is still present in the geology of the area. This impact is responsible for the mineral wealth in the area coming to the surface. All along this route, there certainly are some treasures to be found, from diamond mining towns to the natural beauty of Bloemhof Dam and the geological wonders of the Vredefort Dome. Why not take the route and see what treasures you can find?
Joining me now in studio to discuss this route is Alan Roxton Wiggill, the CEO at the N12 Treasure Route. Thank you so much for making the time to talk to us today. Let's talk about the increasing prevalence of route strategies in the tourism mix. Why is this suddenly becoming such an important aspect of tourism?
I think there are many destinations in many countries that already have a name, Cape Town, Kruger National Park and many others. So there's a need in many countries in the world to try and create new brands. And to create a new brand, you need a slightly bigger product if you want to make it a destination in itself. And that's why people are tending to say, okay, let's group a whole lot of products together along a road, because it's something you can travel on. So it's what a travelist or a tourist can do. So, you know, really there's a logic behind it in that you can actually draw a lot of people to a lot of area and give it a single name. Because it's a hell of a lot easier to market a single name product than a product that actually has 1,000 different brands.
But of course, when we look at the N12, there's also a very multi-dimensional aspect to it. I mean, we're spanning 5 provinces, and this must throw up some challenges in terms of, you know, coordinating all these different stakeholders, and there must be red tape that you have to deal with given the different jurisdictions.
The red tape is more from an operational level as to how you manage your funds and how you manage your people and build your operational capacity. In terms of dealing with the provinces, we have a pretty simple strategy. We've started with the National Department of Tourism, where we are working on getting their full support and appear to have it. And then we move down to the provinces. We have spoken to all 5 provinces in our area, and all 5 provinces have committed themselves to this project. And then from there we work down into the districts, and then from there into the municipalities, because at the end of the day our project is about developing communities along the route to be able to be part of tourism.
There must be a story though behind the N12, anything that you can share with us?
Well, the N12 was originally probably the main route, give or take a few tens of kilometers, which came from Cape Town, George, and the old Delgo or the old Algoa Bay, etc., through to the old gold fields and the Kimberley minefields, diamond fields. So originally it was a wagon trail, but I don't know that it was that well defined that everyone could have said that's where the N12 was. But effectively that is what it started as. And then the people, the indigenous people of the area came into contact with the miners and the traders, and there's a lot of stories that go with that. But over the years, the N12 became a rundown route, and the more direct route, or what people assumed to be the more direct route, was the one via Bloemfontein. And the national government developed the N1 as opposed to the N12.
Yeah.
So we find that today the N12 is only 20 kilometers further than the N1, doesn't have toll roads, and is an absolutely stunning road. So, you know, it's worthwhile having a look at. You know, so just as a travel route,
yeah,
it's worthwhile.
I mean, let's take a typical motorist like myself who thinks about the road and traveling about it being about getting from A to B. And yet, on the other hand, you have a route like the N12, which is, by description, a route less traveled. How do you bring the two together such that one moves from the Nozipo mindset and actually begins to appreciate the tourism offering that the N12 can bring?
I don't know that we want to change that mindset as such. We'd be very happy for people to use the N12 as a travel from the coast to the inland and the inland to the coast. So that's not something we're trying to discourage. It's something that actually still brings a lot of business along the route. But what we are trying to do and will do in the future is actually present our product as somewhere where you can come and have a look at some other parts of South Africa that you maybe haven't had a look at before. And we would like to try and develop that, and we will develop it around the story of the people. So our theme is to actually take this thing and give it back to the people and let them tell the story for us. So it's going to become a story route.
Right. One thing about storytelling is it's best done through brands. Now here you have a multifaceted brand where there's so many opportunities and different caveats in the story that you can tell. How have you managed to pull together the N12 brand?
Very interesting question, because historically the brand itself started in the Northwest Province and had a very strong Northwest appearance and influence. But with us moving right down to the Cape and then right through to Mpumalanga, you obviously have a wide range of products. Now to actually put that back into something, we decided we were going to tell a story, and that is what we're going to do. So whatever our brand is going to become must become a story. So we have basically gone to all the different people on the route and said, well, what is your story? Let's build that. So we will now take thematic routes, whether it's nature routes or if it's township, shebeen routes or whatever else it is. We're going to find, we in fact have identified a whole range of routes that we can do. And then we will actually tell people about these routes through the stories and the people there.
Yeah.
So the brand and the actual look and feel that we've developed is very simple. And it just says N12. Underneath it says Treasure Route, and it has a windmill. And the reason we've used the windmill is because the windmill links everything on the route. There's windmills from one end to the other, hundreds and thousands of them. So we've decided that is the source of life, and the source of life all develops people, and life develops around that. So we've tied them together.
You've touched on a very important aspect and perhaps a trigger for our last question, people. And there must be other opportunities and benefits to a route like the N12, and one of them being sustainable livelihoods and job creation in particular. Talk to us about what's happening, for example, in Taung, and how we're seeing the spillover effects that touch on some of these other benefits.
Well, products like Taung have become run down, and they need redevelopment, and it's an interprovincial national project. We would act more as somebody who would try and initiate that project to get underway, and then we would want to market it. So we would basically be the brand destination marketer, and the provinces and the government would market something like that. From the N12 Treasure Route point of view, our major objective is actually to create sustainable tourism businesses for SMEs throughout the route. And one of the things we've done is our simple brand can be utilized in handicraft, and that's one of the first points we're moving to. So all along the route, we want all our local communities to actually develop our brand for us. So they buy it. It's theirs. It's not ours anymore. We've given them a template. We've said, here it is. Go and take your artistic imagination, abilities, and take your crafting abilities and become part of us. So they actually become our emissaries on the route.
Of course, the best brands are co-created, and it seems as if you've got that formula down to a T. Thank you so much for making the time to join us.